Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. If you are new here, this is Remaka Tutorial, your one-stop channel for learning various CAD software. Today, we will be diving into the world of Blender, the powerful and free 3D creation software. Whether you are into modeling, animation, or game design, mastering Blender interface is your first step. So in this video, I will walk you through Blender layouts and help you get comfortable with the workspace. So let's get started. Blender is a free open source software ideal for product design, rendering, and animation. To get this software, visit Blender website on blender.org and get the software for free. When you get to the website, go to the download section and download the version of Blender of your choice. When you launch your Blender software, you will see the splash screen. Click outside the splash screen to get into the main workspace. Blender default workspace is divided into several panels. Let's break them down. Now we'll be taking a look at 10 important sections of Blender interface. Number 1, top menu bar. For the top menu bar, we have File, Edit, Render, Window, and Help. We also have the workspace. The workspace are different environments you can switch to depending on what you want to do. We have modeling, sculpting, UV editing, shading, animation. You can switch to any of these environments or workspace depending on what you want to do. The second section we'll be talking about is the mode selector. The mode selector is at the far left of your screen. Here you can switch between different modes. We have object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode. Changing between this mode will change your set of tools available at that moment. At object mode, you can see we have some tools here, but once you change to edit mode, you have more additional tools that can help you to edit. We have other modes like the sculpt mode, the vertex mode, the texture paint mode, and the weight mode. So you can switch into any of this mode depending on what task that you are performing at the moment. For now, let's go back to our object mode. The third important section is your toolbar. The toolbar is located at the far left of the screen. At the toolbar section, we have tools such as select box, cursor, your move, rotate, and the scale, and other context specific tools depending on the mode that you are on. This toolbar section is very important because with this section, you can select your object and move the object. So now I've clicked on move. So you can either move on any of the three important axes, the X axis on red, the Y axis on green, and the Z axis on blue. So if I want to move on the Y axis, I drag along the Y axis, or you drag along the X axis or along the Z axis. So you can either move on any of these axes. And if you want to move in space, you can come towards this white circular portion and move in space. There is a shortcut that can help you to move easily. That is by typing G on your keyboard. By typing G on your keyboard, your object snaps to your cursor. So now by typing G, I can also move. So if I type GX, then I move on the X axis. GY snaps to the Y axis. GZ on my keyboard snaps to the Z axis. Knowing and understanding your shortcut is very important when you're working with Blender. So G is the shortcut for move. So GX means move on the X axis. GY move on the Y axis. GZ move on the Z axis. I press escape on my keyboard. Then also you can also rotate. So similarly to the move, you can either rotate on your Y axis, on the X axis, or on the Z axis. The shortcut for your rotate is R. So typing R on my keyboard and X means I'm rotating about the X axis. Now I type Y, I'm rotating on the Y axis. I type Z, I'm rotating on the Z axis. So R is the shortcut for rotate. Similarly, for scale. For scale, you can scale object on the Y axis, on the X axis, or on the Z axis. The shortcut for scale is S. So if I type S and X, means I'm scaling on the X axis. Now I type Y on my keyboard, I'm scaling on the Y axis. So if you want to scale uniformly, you can go to this white circular portion and scale uniformly. That means you are scaling on the three axes at the same time, X, Y, and Z, by dragging from the this white circular portion. You can scale uniformly on the three axes. So we also have some other tools on your toolbar section. To show or hide your toolbar, press letter T on your keyboard. So by pressing letter T on your keyboard, you can either show or hide your toolbar section. The next important section we'll be looking at is the 3D viewport. The 3D viewport is where most of the action happens. Here you can model, animate, and interact with your objects. In the 3D viewport, we have the camera, we have lights, then we also have the objects. Now, this is just a sample object that you can work on. So we have the camera, we have the lights, then we have the your 3D objects. So this area is very important. This is where you model, you animate, and interact with your objects. There are three important action you need to know how to perform in this viewport. The first one is how to rotate. How to rotate. So to rotate, you drag the middle mouse button. If you are using a mouse, by dragging the middle mouse button, you can rotate your scene. As you can see on display, you can rotate your screen by dragging the middle mouse button. Now, by pressing Shift and middle mouse, you can pan your view. Shift plus middle mouse button, you can pan your view. And by scrolling up and down with your middle mouse, you can zoom. So rotate, pan, and zoom are three important actions you need to practice very well if you want to understand how to work with Blender. So you can either scroll up and down with your middle mouse, you can drag your middle mouse, you can press Shift and drag to rotate, to pan, and to zoom. Rotate, pan, and zoom are three important actions you need to master when working with Blender. The next section we'll be taking a look at is the navigation gizmo. The navigation gizmo is located towards the right-hand corner, towards the top right-hand corner of your screen. With the navigation gizmo, you can change your view to either front view, side view, or top view. So at the navigation gizmo, you can see X, Y, Z. So by clicking on either X, Y, Z, you can change to either front view, side view, or top view of your screen. With the help of the navigation gizmo, you can also use it to orbit or rotate your objects. You can, by dragging on the navigation gizmo, you can use it to rotate or orbit your objects. So the navigation gizmo is also an important section of your Blender interface. The next important section is the sidebar. To activate the sidebar, there is a small arrow at this corner of the screen. By clicking on the arrow, this navigation bar pops out. The navigation bar shows some important information about your object. It shows the location, the rotation, and the dimension of the object. So if I select this object and I change the position, I change the coordinates, so you can see the location details changes. If I change the scale of the object, so here now you can observe the scale information has changed. So all this information are shown on the sidebar. To show or hide the sidebar, you can type letter N on your keyboard. So letter N on your keyboard helps you to hide or show the sidebar. The sidebar is the sixth important section you need to know on Blender interface. The seventh important section we'll be talking about is the outliner. The outliner is located at the top right hand corner of your Blender interface. At the outliner corner, you can see we have camera, cube, and lights. This indicates the list of all objects on your scene. Now you can see on the scene, we have the object, which is the cube. We have the camera, we have the lights. So we have three important objects. So the camera, the cube, and the lights. So the outliner indicates list of objects on our scene. So as we continue to model and add more objects, you will see them displayed on the outliner. At the outliner, we can show or hide a particular object. We can rename them, we can organize them. The eighth important section of your Blender interface is the property panel. The property panel is located at the right hand corner of your Blender interface. At the property panel, you have different tabs. You have the tool tab, we have the render tab, output, view layer tab, scene tab, world tab. We have several tabs that perform different settings to enable you to perform different settings. So this property panel is where you can adjust the property of your object. You can adjust the different property of your object. For instance, you want to add material to your object, you can do it here. You want to adjust the render output of your object, you can get it done here. You want to add some effects to your object. You want to add modifiers to your object, you can do it here. So there are a lot of things, settings, as regards settings, that you can do to your object, that you can add to your object. All these settings are done on the property panel. So there are different tabs of the property panel. They have their own individual details. So in Blender, if you want to be working very well in Blender, you need to get used to how to make some settings on the property panel. So this property panel is the eighth important section of Blender interface. The ninth section of your Blender interface is the timeline. The timeline is located at the bottom of the interface. So this section is for animation. So if you're animating, this is where you'll be controlling the keyframes and playback of your animation. The 10th and final section of your Blender interface is the status bar. The status bar is the bottom horizontal bar on the Blender interface. This section provides real-time feedback and useful information about what is happening in your scene. It's a subtle but powerful part of the interface. The status bar shows what tool or operation is currently active, e.g., rotate, scale. It tells you what tools that is currently active. It displays hints for hotkeys related to the current tools or action. The status bar also displays tooltip and shortcut hints as you move your mouse or perform actions. One other function of the status bar is that it briefly shows confirmation after undo or redo operation. That's a quick tour of Blender interface. Now that you know your way around, you are ready to start creating. In future videos, we will dive deeper into each section. So make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell if you don't want to miss out. Drop a comment below if you are new to Blender, or let me know what you would like to learn next.